Hello, folks. I hope you've had a fantastic week and a great weekend and are ready to do some more awesome work in reading today. I hope that you enjoyed the read aloud that we did on Friday called Wolf, about a wolf who learns how to read. And I also hope that you enjoyed the video from Nat Geo for Kids that you got to see about wolves in Yellowstone National Park. I'm sure you learned a lot of interesting and exciting stuff from both those, the book and the video. Well, last week we talked about the importance of being skillful readers, and we said that skillful readers have two things they always do. They read accurately. That means they read what's actually there. They don't make up words, they don't skip words they don't know, they don't mumble them, and they don't just blindly guess them. We said that they use some important tools to figure out what an unknown word means. And we said that those tools are called decoding and recoding. When we decode a word, we break it apart. We say, ooh, I know this part. I see this sneaky E will make the O say its name. And then, once we've broken it apart and read the parts, we put those parts back together and we recode it. That helps us to read accurately. We also said skillful readers read fluently. This means we read at a good pace. We're not too fast and we're not too slow. If you remember from the story, when Wolf first began to read, he was accurate, but he struggled with his fluency. At first, he was reading slowly. Then when he became a skillful reader, he thought he was supposed to read very quickly, but that was not fluent. Toward the end, he became a reader who was able to read both accurately and fluently. So we know how to read unknown words, but sometimes we have a problem when we read a word that we don't know. We're able to sound it out and read it accurately, but we don't know what the word means. Let me give you an example of that. Look at this word. This, as you can see, is a big word, but that's okay because we're skillful readers. We know how to decode and recode. So let's look at how we would do that. We look at parts we know, and I like to circle those parts to help me to make sure that I'm getting them right. I see the word in, I've underlined. Can, I know that this A is going to be short because it's in the middle of two consonants. Des, my E is going to be short because it's in the middle of two consonants. And then I have a part at the end that I had to think about for a second. I see the letters C and E. I know that C by itself usually says K, but when it's followed by an I, a Y, or an E, it becomes what we call a soft C, and it says S. So I know this part of the word is scent. I've decoded, now I can put the parts back together and recode it. Incandescent. 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 I read the word accurately, but I'm not exactly sure about what that word means. So there are a couple of tools in my toolbox that I can use to find the meaning of an unknown word. First, I could always just go ask somebody, but that's not always a very good tool to use because the person may not know what the word means, there may not be another person there, and also I can't be for sure if they tell me something that what they told me was correct. We can also look a word up in a dictionary. Dictionaries not only tell us how to say the word, what part of speech the word is, they also tell me what the word means. And since some words have more than one meaning, a dictionary is a really important tool to know how to use. However, I may not have a dictionary handy. Well, there's another tool I can use, and I'd like for you to read to yourself what our outcome is for the day, and that's going to help you figure out what tool we're going to be learning about. All right, let's read this together. Use context clues to determine the meaning of unknown words. And you probably noticed on our outcome, I've underlined certain parts to help us to make sure that we know exactly what it is we're going to be doing today. Because if we don't know what we're doing, we won't be able to know if we've been able to be successful at the end of the lesson. So context clues are very important. I've circled the word text to remind us that this is anything that's written. A A story, a poem, a song, anything that is written down is called text. And the word clues, you probably know what this word means. Another word for clues would be hints. Little nuggets of information that we can find inside the text that we read. And these hints inside the text are going to help us to determine or figure out the meaning of unknown words. And I've underlined the prefix un because we know that means not. So we'll use clues, hints in the text to figure out the meaning of words that we don't know. Let's see how that would work. First of all, decode and recode this word for me. Now maybe you knew this word right off. Maybe you didn't and had to break it apart. This is how I broke it. I underlined the P-R-E because I know that says pre. I underlined the E-R at the end because, I put a box around the E-R at the end because I know that says And the F, I don't have any trouble with. That's F. So I've decoded. Now let's recode it. Read this with me. Prefer, prefer, prefer. I was able to read the word accurately without any difficulties once I broke it apart. But that really doesn't help me to understand what this word means, does it? So in order to find out the meaning of the word, I'm going to use context clues. That means I'll read the sentence the word is in, and then I may even have to read sentences around that to help me understand the meaning. Let me read this and see if we can figure out what the word prefer means. Red foxes prefer to hunt alone and eat small animals, birds, and fish. Let me read it again. Red foxes prefer to hunt alone and eat small animals, birds, and fish. That really didn't help me very much because I'm thinking of words I could stick in place of prefer. That would make sense. Red foxes hate to hunt alone and eat small animals, birds, and fish. Okay. Red foxes don't like to hunt alone and eat small animals, birds, and fish. So that sentence alone didn't help me. But do I give up? No. I keep going to the next sentence and see if that one will help me. They also like to raid garbage cans and campsites for food. Let me read that sentence again because I think it had some important clues for us. They also like to raid garbage cans and campsites for food. I saw two key words in that sentence to help me figure out what prefer means. Let me read it one more time and you see if you can find those two important clue words that the author gave us. They also like to raid garbage cans and campsites for food. What were the two really important context clue words that the author gave me? Also like. So now I'm going to take that word like and put it in place of prefer and see if that makes sense in the context of the passage. Red foxes like to hunt alone and eat small animals, birds, and fish. They also like to raid garbage cans and campsites for food. Does that make sense? Yes. So I used context clues by reading the sentence where I saw the word that I didn't know and the sentence after it to help me understand the meaning of that word. But you know, we don't always have to read a lot of sentences because sometimes the author will give us some very important clues within the sentence in which the word first appears. Look at this word. Decode it, then recode it. And let me show you how I broke it apart. First, I put a box around the ER because I know ER says The T at the end, I know what that says. T, L, O, and the A at the beginning, I'm going to say is probably going to be short because there's a consonant right after it. So let's try that. Alert, alert. I don't think I've ever heard that word before. Are there any other sounds I could try for the A? Sure, I can try the long A sound. Let's do that one. Alert, alert. That might sound a little more familiar to me, but I'm still not sure that's a word. And I know that there's one more sound that A can sometimes make, and it's called the schwa sound. It sounds like short U. Let's try that sound. Alert, alert, alert. I've heard that word a lot of times, but I'm not exactly sure if I know what it means. So let me read the text in which it appears and see if we can find out the meaning of this unknown word. The gray wolf howls to alert or warn other wolves when there is danger nearby. Let me read that one more time and you see if you can figure out what the word alert means. The gray wolf howls to alert or warn other wolves when there is danger nearby. Did you see what the author did there? The author, when they wrote this text, was probably thinking, my readers may not know what the word alert means, so I'm going to go ahead and give it to them and tell them in the very sentence where it first appears. So we know from this sentence the word alert means warn. When you're reading in a text and you see an unknown word followed by a comma and or, and then another word, most of the time that second word is going to be a synonym for the first word. The gray wolf howls to alert, which is the same meaning as warn other wolves when there is danger nearby. Let's look back at that first big word that we saw. Incandescent. This was a big word, and we were able to break it apart by decoding and then put it back together by recoding, but we still weren't sure about what the word meant. So let's read the sentence in which it appears and see if the context clues within that sentence will help us to find out what incandescent means or what it is. Incandescent light bulbs use a lot of energy. About 90% of this energy produces heat. Only 10% produces light. Let me read it one more time. Incandescent light bulbs use a lot of energy. About 90% of this energy produces heat. Only 10% produces light. So I know from reading that sentence that incandescent is a kind of light bulb. Now I don't know exactly what kind of light bulb, but I do know it's a light bulb. So if I read this sentence now, it makes sense to me that there is some kind of a light bulb that uses a lot of energy, but most of that energy is used to produce heat. How do we find out the meaning of that word? We used context clues. We read the sentence that it was in and then sentences after it to help us to find out the meaning of the unknown word. So let's look at our outcome again and see if we're able to meet it. We said we would use clues or hints in a text to figure out the meaning of unknown words. Did we do that? Absolutely. Now, you're going to find a Google Slides project that has just an opportunity for you to practice. You will see a word on one slide. You'll get to guess and see if you can figure out what that word means. You might even look it up in a dictionary or ask someone else. Then you'll go to the next slide where you'll read a couple of sentences where that word appears, and you'll check your prediction, or maybe check the definitions in the dictionary, or check what mom or dad or your brother or sister told you the word meant. See if you agree, see if you want to change your thinking, and then go to the next slide and you're going to see the actual definition of the word. And you can see how close you were. Like I said, you can ask someone, you can look it up in a dictionary, but what I would really like for you to do would be to use context clues, because you can use these on your own without help from anyone else, no matter where you are. After the Google Slides project, you're going to have a short text that you will get to read, and there are going to be a couple of words in the text that you'll use context clues to figure out and answer a couple of short multiple choice questions afterwards. All right, folks, I hope you had a great time. I hope you learned a lot about context clues. I hope you're going to use them this week. And next week on Monday, we'll be back with a new reading lesson. Have a great week. Bye.